Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Dom and Luke, for giving me a call yesterday at 5:30 saying, do you have anything you can talk about? Like, we do have a, small business, AWS. I'm like, yeah, Art Workspaces. Like, they've had some big, no, Amazon Web Services. So we want you to cover their talk. Fuck yeah, no problem. Any opportunity to plug Tropical Innovation Festival, I'm there. So I was thinking, what are these people interested in? Lots about councils, lots about small business. What am I an expert in? I'm an expert in myself. So I'm just going to talk about myself for 20 minutes. So I apologize in advance. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are here today, the Gimoy, Wallaburri, Yindinji and the Irukandji people, and also take particular note on this week as Reconciliation Week. So I want you to tell me or talk to your partner, what are some of your thoughts that you have around technology adoption for small business? So I started my small business as a 22-year-old. I shouldn't even say my age because now my people are adding the maths together. I was looking up what happened in 2004. Do you know what happened in 2004? Who remembers Jen Hawkins as like the what did she win? What was that award? Miss Universe, because, we weren't all in the competition. But it does feel like that was only yesterday. It doesn't feel like that was 20 years ago, does it? And I was listening to some of the songs and I was remembering when I was at university thinking, God, I was listening to songs from the 80s when I was at university thinking that they were from forever ago. And this is actually my current playlist. I'm not going to get any laughs from these because it's totally current music. So that's 20 years ago for me. But what do you think about small business? Anyone have anything positive to say about this? Thoughts about technology adoption for small business success? I know from the look on your face, you are a very strong small business advocate. Anyone have anything positive to say about small business technology adoption? Yeah. Yep, people being there on time, so it's helping them do their job better. Great. It's like I planted you. I know that you're the motivational speaker, but it's like I planted you there, and I appreciate you supporting making my talk better as well. Thank you. Anyone else, anything positive that they've had? Oh, wow. Awesome. Comfortable. Yeah, while the kids are sleeping. Awesome. And making money then while she's sleeping. How fabulous. And one last one here. Wow. That's phenomenal. Making sure everyone's got their clothes on in the backyard these days, isn't it? I'm going to be really I do say I do say sometimes English is my second language, Bogan is my first, but because there's so many people from Cairns here, I'm going to go one step further because I can't walk around without making noise. So I really apologize. I'm going to take my shoes off, but nobody saw it. So just from here up, please. So if we look up a little bit, one of the things that I have noticed in my business and what we've gone on to from that, so I started my first business as a 22-year-old. I sold that about 8 years later. And what that allowed me to do was a number of things that I never thought I would be able to do. I grew up in a family that was very risk adverse, that had jobs, and all I ever wanted was to have a job. But the adoption of technology has really made me as a small business owner and the people that we work with through our business really achieve lots more from a regional area. Oh, I didn't like my slides. Oh, back one. Now he's giving my joke away. So this was basically how my life was meant to go. I was going to finish school and I only just finished school because I really was into sport when I was a kid. And then I was going to do my undergrad and then I was going to do my postgrad and then I was going to get a job. And then I was going to become so I was a dietitian psychologist and I was going to become a senior and then I was going to become the boss and then I was going to become the big boss and then I was going to retire and then I was going to die. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. What actually happened is that I couldn't get a job in my hometown of Cairns where I wanted to come back to. And so I only had one option. And for me, that was to start employ me. I didn't take that as a negative thing, like totally positive. It's their loss, not mine. But one of the things that I do think would have happened if I got my dream job is I still probably would have been doing that, because I'm very passionate. Like the lady here who loves small business, like, no, don't you even insist that I would think anything bad about small businesses. I love them. They're the lifeblood. That's what I thought about being a dietitian, and being a dietitian, particularly in regional and remote areas. And I still am pretty passionate dietitian. I am president of Dietitians Australia. And that is one of the things that I never would have gotten if I didn't become a small business owner. So I feel like the gifts that being in small business have given me over that time have been much more. I've had businesses that I've been able to sell. It means that when we've been able to buy property that have created other small businesses. I've written 6 books. I've written a textbook, well, just like 3 chapters with lots of other really smart people. And my friends at university call me the pseudoscientist, because my job was just to put in the fun stories, and all the actual science stuff was done by smart people. It was really great. And then it's also allowed me to be flexible and to experiment. And what we need to start looking at when we're looking at tech adoption and we're looking at doing new things is, how do we get our small business owners to take a little bit more risk? Like, not risking everything and being stupid, but sometimes doing things that normal people think is maybe a little bit stupid. And that when we're working with people as advisors, or we're working with people with counsel, sometimes we need to remember that only strange people change the world. Only people doing new things, only crazy people change the world. So it might be that you have to listen to these people and you think, gosh, they should be on that sitcom Silicon Valley, but they may actually have something. So it's, how can we give them allowances to take some of that risk and try and do something that's never been done before? So now we're going to wind back to 2004. Was anyone not born in 2004? I feel like, no, we're okay. That's good. I feel like we're with our peeps. Yeah, awesome. So 2004, I was a year in my business, and I won this award, the Cairns Businesswomen's Club Young Businesswoman of the Year. So what I say is, nutrition was my first love, and small business is my soulmate, because that's where I get to do what I do best. And one of the things that I found really interesting, do we have any athletes in the room? Excellent, excellent. So because you're the only person, I've got my skin fold calipers here, and I just want to demonstrate. Do you mind? I couldn't find my skin, like, because I only got called up like last night. I was like, oh, where are my calipers? Like, I need to get them out. So I used to be, has anyone ever seen anyone get skin folds or have, with everything, you get the bones measured and everything. So that process takes about 40 minutes. How much do you think people paid for that in 2004? $20 in 2004. We're not in like Las Vegas, we're in Cairns. Yeah. Actually, they usually wouldn't pay it. They just thought it had to be part of the service. So one of the things that I started to understand is, what could I do that was doing something differently in business in Cairns other people weren't doing, that wasn't using the most limited resource that I had, which was my time. So what I like to call this, because I'm not smart enough to give you a talk about artificial intelligence, I'm going to talk to you about augmented intelligences. And what that means is it's taking all the things that Ash talked about today and all the things that Tracy talked about and Dom talked about, putting them together. How do we use technology to make people better at what they do? I often talk to doctors in some of my roles on boards, and they say, well, AI is just bullshit because, it can't do surgery yet. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, it can't. But it could write your notes so that when you've got someone who wants a discharge summary, they can get that quickly. It can write you a referral so that once we need to see another specialist, we can get that in. So yes, nobody wants a robot like operating on them. Like, most of us do have robots operating on us, just as an FYI, but nobody really wants to talk about that, do they? But they're quite happy for the robot to write the doctor's notes. We can't read the doctor's handwriting anyway. So let's get the robots doing things that augment the work that we're doing to make us better. So in 2004, I invested in one of these machines, and this was the marketing brochure. It was an InBody 3.0. I had to import it from Korea. It was $23,000. which is a shit ton of money in 2004, right? It's a lot of money. But it meant I could put someone on this machine, follow the clinical requirements, and I could get what would usually take me about 45 minutes done in 7.5 minutes. Now they're even quicker because they have more technology. But what that meant is that people could come and see me, but also I could employ other people that could do that for them. And then I would interpret the results clinically. So that's where I first decided there's things that I can invest in that seem like an expense, but really that is an investment. I was paying myself more than 23,000, probably not much more. It was probably about 40,000 back in 2004, but this was doing a whole nother person. So even if it was just replacing like one person, I've still made $17,000. So it's that data that you need to encourage your small business owners to look at. They do talk about a lot of these AI tools. Well, it's $20 a month. And it's like, if it saves you 5 minutes a day, it's worth $20 a month. So it's looking at those types of things. One of our first entrepreneurs that we had come up here with the Entrepreneurs Project, he talked about one of his advisors saying, well, just use Excel. Don't use those Xero and MyOb. Another plug, we do have the founder of Xero coming to Tropical Innovation Festival. So, if that's of interest, come along to that. And so he was told, don't use Excel because you're going to save money. So he saved that $50 a month over 5 years. Guess how much it cost him to get an accountant in to fix his accounts 5 years later? $120,000. $120,000. So we need to start looking at and empowering people. Often we say to people, well, is that small business a success? And sometimes we've got to look at that maybe we may not be seeing those numbers right now, but maybe we're seeing numbers that may improve over time, and it may be investing in that entrepreneur or self-employed person. That means that this can become a success over and over and over and over again. So that's around augmenting intelligence, not so much artificial intelligence. So one of the reasons why I think this is true is because when we all have access to information now, it used to be, so now I feel like that there's so much misinformation and disinformation available that it makes it very difficult to make decisions. And when you start to talk to people and small business owners, what they tend to do is look through one lens. And I'm going to give you an alternative that you can share with them, but also with your team if you need to make good decisions. So it used to be that the power belonged to those with knowledge. I used to hear as a kid, well, knowledge is power, Tara. Keep reading, knowledge is power. But that's not true anymore. Then it shifted to the next generation that was not so much having the knowledge, but knowing where to find it. Today, the only way you can have power and impact is being able to critically evaluate that knowledge. Just sit with that for a little bit. So it's knowing, is this information true for me? Is this information true for the group I'm working with? Is this information true for the collective? And is this information something that can be replicated? So I'm not going to go deeply into this because I need to talk about myself a bit more, of course. But how you can do that is look at these adoption decisions. Is there data and evidence? So that's the hard stuff. That's, it's great. Our council does the Econ ID subscription, which is really helpful to us. It's things like your IBIS reports. It's the university access, looking at some of those published papers. Then there's looking at the self and experience. So you find a lot of people, well, I did this, and then they come from that lens through for yourself. Peers and experts. You'd be amazed at what experts will be happy to talk to you, and particularly around benchmarking. So that's where benchmarking sits. Where has something like this happened that's been done well? And then actually testing. So the Tropical Innovation Festival started literally with $16,000, and it ended up like now it's a 5-day. We still don't have much more money. So if there are any other people who want to sponsor a delegation or anything, feel free to come and talk to me after that. But it started with $16,000 in a random conversation with one of our angel investors, Peppy, who owns a dive boat. And I said, can we run a conference on your boat? We've got 3 weeks to do it, 4 weeks to do it. He said, yeah, no problem. So I sent Kate over because she's a nice one. And I said, talk to Peppy. He said, we can have the boat. Kate turns up and he goes, oh, I thought Tara was kidding. Oh, So in that time, I was like, well, if I can get these 5 experts to speak, and I had a wish list, and I went and talked to Angelo after this. I had Luke Anea, Glenn Richards, Kathy Reed, Vu Tran, and I can't remember the 5th one. Someone else awesome, probably Kate or Dom. And I was like, well, if one of those say yes, we've got a conference. This is going to be great. Issue was they all said yes. So then I had to knock on Angelo's door when he was at Cairns Regional Council and say, hey, we've got some people, they're all coming. We don't have enough money to bring them all up. And we're going to run this one-day event. And then that one-day event has now turned into a 6-day event with, I think last year we had 1,200 people that came along to that, which has been awesome. So it's looking at all of those different things, but allowing people to test. If you can allow people to test, that is really valuable. Sorry, I keep pressing the pointer, sorry. All right, so the last thing I'm going to talk about very quickly is who has ever seen this? Who believes, heart of hearts, and don't put your hands up, but I want you to tell the person next to you, do you believe success happens outside of your comfort zone? Talk to your neighbor. Jess is, yep, I'm putting my money on that. I'm putting my stake in the ground. I'm yelling it out. There's no shame here. All right. So the thing that I have had the privilege of is in my work as a sports dietitian, I worked with some crazy people. I worked with people who paddled from New Zealand to Australia and then walked from Antarctica to the South Pole. I worked with professional athletes, and now I've worked with some entrepreneurs that are raising, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I can tell you one thing that is probably the only thing true, because I always say for every rule there is an exception. There's only 2 things I think are true in business. One is all businesses have to start. The second one is that when you are comfortable doing things that other people aren't, that's actually where success is. So it might be outside of your comfort zone, but if you can stretch your comfort zone to encompass success, so it's more like this. We'll go back on that one. So that was my drawing, not as good as the first one. So I just put in the old slide last night. But this is success outside the comfort zone. And what we want to do is stretch that comfort zone. And this I've seen happen in sports and seen happen in business multiple times. So when you have a look at each of these areas, the stuck zone is basically going backwards. Things that you're doing that are not moving you forwards. It might be scrolling on your phone, consumerism, those types of things. If comfort started with ST, the stable zone would be called comfort, but it doesn't. So it's now called the comfort zone. If you, your employees, small business can do at least 30% of their work in their stable comfort zone, they're not going to burn out as quickly. They need to find some things that they're good at. From there, we look at the stretch zone. So it's like those, like this young man, I'm sure you've run a few marathons and Ironmans and things like that. Yep. So triathlon. Yep. Awesome. Yep. So it's slowly building up. You don't kind of turn up to Cairns Ironman on the 14th of June and go, it's not even sold out. Let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a go. You build yourself up. Whereas what we see with a lot of small business owners is they think, well, I should know how to do this. I want to do this straight away. So we look at the stretch zone. So what is a little bit further? It's kind of like, well, what are these long runs? What are these long rides? What are these long swims? What are the things that allow me to get my heart rate up, push myself a little bit, but pull out that comfort zone a little bit? And you want to spend another 30% of your time here if you're looking at growing. And that's important for small business owners, but also for people who are working within organizations as well and looking at growing to the next level. Your strain zone, you want a little bit less time in. You're looking at around your 10% of your time in the strain zone, and then your stress zone even less than that. If you're going, what a lot of people do is they go straight into stress and then they have to recover. So it's like this stress stuck, stress stuck, stress stuck. But if you can slowly, systematically move people out in things that just progressively a little bit more. So what we tend to do is give people workshops. And what I say to my entrepreneurs is you need to do more work and less workshops so that they can slowly work at getting better at things. There's only so much that learning that you can do that can move you forward. But then we need to invest in people to help them along the way to do that. So I'm going to give you just a small little self-indulgent example. So yeah, it's all about me. You know this, right? All about me and Innovation Festival. So in 2019, I saw a friend and he had swum in Antarctica, and I was living in Cairns at the time, and I was like, you know what, I'd like to do that. And he's like, oh, what do you think? What do you think you're going to do? Do you need to move back down here, or do you want to go to the snow? And I was like, no, I'm sure I can do that. He's like, you have to swim an ice mile first. And I was like, ooh, that sounds difficult. So an ice mile is a 1 mile swim, less than 5 degree water. And one of the random rules that they have through ISO accreditation is you have to be alive 45 minutes after finishing, or it's not ratified. So I trained. This is my apartment on the Esplanade in Cairns, and I trained in a freezer. I had 2 freezers, one at 0 degrees, one at 3 degrees, and kind of went in between those. I had 5 weeks to get myself to this level. And I just wanted to show you a couple of clips that we had, but it was basically looking at, so I was thinking I need to get faster because like if you're going to swim in cold water, you're going to die quickly. So you want to get out quickly. So I trained with the kids. I trained with the 12-year-olds because they're much quicker than all the adult squads here. So I went and turned up to Kirk. I had breathing training and freezer training, and I just slowly, systematically worked up to around about the time that I would actually be swimming in ice. So just to close off, I just wanted to show you, and this is like a sports application of that model, but it's a lot longer to go through a case study with a business, but we do this with all of our business owners as well. So this is when we first turned up, because the water was meant to be 5 degrees, which is not frozen. Like for any of the scientists, like 0 is frozen, 5 degrees not frozen, and that's what I trained for. So this is us turning up. Now this is at the start, is it? Can we go to 2 minutes 25? I had to cut it many times. You've got no idea how many times I cut it to the 2 minutes 25. It's an 18-minute video, so expect everyone to watch it when they get home. At the pub, there we go. A great job there. That should be good. And we did not say a word. We were all really nervous. It's when we turned up at the reservoir. I think it's like 7 or 8 o'clock. I can't see my watch because I got so much warm stuff on. And the swim will probably be about lunchtime, so hopefully the sun comes up. But let's have a little look. Oh, no, I broke. I didn't even break it. All right, I got to be. Oh no! All right, we're gonna try one more. That's not a good sign. We sent photos to Jer and Wyatt and Ben, and they were like, surely that's not the same place. I didn't know what the temperature was going to be, so we tested it.
So it's 2.4.
Wyatt came down to check it out for himself. Of course, he's tough, man. So he was like, oh, this is fine. I'll just get a kayak and I'll just break up the ice. So he got a kayak, broke up the ice, and then we just waited to see whether it was going to melt by lunchtime where we could give it a go. And then it was Jer's time to get in the water. See if this plays this should play it. Oh no, it didn't play. All right, so it shows you at the end, I'm still alive. I didn't die. I finished it. But so I did put this random last slide in if I was running a workshop. If you wanted to go through that with any of your staff and your small businesses, feel free to do so. And I don't know if you've heard, we've got a festival coming up, 17th to 21st. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's just basically Innovation Festival spam at the moment, but please feel free to do that. But thanks so much, Dom, Luke, for having me.
But yes, you put the shoes on, yes. So who needs Amazon Web Services when you got Tara? That's what I say. Everyone reckon, yeah. So I just think one of the interesting things that you said there, Tara, was about innovation and small businesses get to the stage where maybe they're no longer innovating and they're in the comfort zone. Do you find that you encounter some small business where they feel like innovation is almost like a separate sector, or we're not innovating, there's a whole range of different businesses, and how can you change their mindset, I guess, to continue to innovate?
I think one of the things similar to that Strive model that I showed is it's trying to get people, I think when people see innovation, it's so far away from them. And interestingly, when we first started our entrepreneurship programs here, we got up these amazing entrepreneurs. And when we started to talk to our entrepreneurs that were going, they said, I just feel like they're so far away from me. It's not inspiring. It's just, so we need to try and get mentors, not that are superstars, but that are one step above where the person is. And it's helping them stretch towards innovation. So it's almost like they don't even realize that what they are doing is innovative, because it is really like innovation should be BAU, like it should be continuous improvement. Some people in government do say we're innovative, but really they're doing continuous improvement. Sorry, I realize we're a government conference. Sorry about that, Soz. But yeah, so that I feel like it's just slowly stretching them out and getting, but it's also discourage. Like we have a lot of people that we would say, totally get you want to come to this workshop, but it's too far. Like go to the next one, actually do the work. More work, less workshops. And the workshops need to be very strategic to where they are, rather than trying to think that you'll get one workshop that will cover all the needs of the community.
So having too far a stretch can actually be demotivating, rather than just saying, okay, the next steps take me that bit outside my comfort zone, and then it's a bit of that journey. Yeah. Great. Have we got any questions for Tara while we've got her on stage? Triathlete down here.
For people are swimming, yeah. Oh, so if you ask any of my Cairns Regional Council colleagues, I only do things I'm good at. That's basically so I work with Kate, she's my business partner. I won't fill in a form. If I've got to write my name, I will not write my name on a form. So there's anything, so if someone wants to work with it, and it's some of those questions that, and I will fight back, like Angelo's left now. So, but like I'll say, what are you actually using this information for? Because every hour that I spend on reporting is an hour I could be mentoring a local small business. And I will say that, and people tend to not like me for reasons like that, but then we get outcomes and they suddenly like me again. So it's quite, it's an interesting thing. So that's my focus. I focus on doing things that I find easy. So how I work with people to find their strengths is things that they find easy that other people find difficult, things that you enjoy that other people hate, and things that you're objectively excellent at. And if you spend most of your time doing that, you can charge a premium. Whereas if you're doing things that you're not good at and continually trying to do things like that, it does. So I just do things I'm good at. But also because I sold my business, and as a 22-year-old, I was a little psycho and, worked really hard on that small business. It allowed us to have that cushion and those continual businesses that gave us money to do that. So working hard, there's nothing that can outweigh working hard, I don't think.
Great. Any other questions that we've got in the room? I think we've got one. What was that percentage off for the Tropical Innovation Festival?
10%.
Okay.
17th to 21st. We've also got a TIFF adjacent event, which is Women in Leadership. If you can't come up for the whole week, we've got Dame Quinton Bryce coming up. One of my favourite entrepreneurs in our region is Wendy Morris. Does anyone know her? And so she said to me, I'll only be on your generational panel if I'm not the oldest. I said, 100%, you won't be the oldest. You're not the oldest. She's like, who else have you got? I can't tell you just yet. And then so I went home and I didn't sleep, and I was like, fuck, am I going to ask? And I was like looking everything, and I was like, I'm going to ask Quinton Bryce, see if she'll come. And so she's coming. So we have a generational keynote, and then we have Quinton Bryce.
Well done. Excellent. Okay, everyone, could you join me in thanking Tara? Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate it.